Percival, only recently returning from a hiatus, from a retirement, essentially. He's back. He's back with a vengeance. But how does he compare to one of the favorites in SHIN? Here we go. Is spawning in the top left-hand corner. In the top left-hand corner of Neon Violet Square, we have the South Korean Terran player, the... Oh, calm down. We have the South Korean Terran, the Red Terran. It is Percival. Stay with us, Pappy, stay with us. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing Gaiman Gladiators. It is SHIN. We go. Just quickly setting things up. Just updating the bracket as we progress, and we'll see how we approach this. As a reminder, game 1 of the semifinals is forced on Neon Violet Square, despite the disdain from our players. I mean, with good reason. Neon Violet Square is often never seen in these tournaments. It is often vetoed, but we force it here on OlimoLeague. Ah, let's go. It's beautiful. So with that, we're forced to play on it, and I'm curious to see how Percival will approach this. Loading into Neon Violet Square, it is very defendable on 2, 3, 4, 5 bases. Similar features compared to Abyssal Reef. I will say though that Abyssal Reef is more defendable than Neon Violet Square, but there are other features, of course, like the Pocket Expansion, very free base that you can take with extra gas geysers as well. That is another X factor coming into this. On top of that, the rush distance by ground is longer on Neon Violet Square. On top of that, it's also a lot more wide open in the center of the map. It can be quite difficult to actually engage in the center of the map. As a result, you are vulnerable to surrounds. Even taking into account these squares, of course, that can make things awkward to engage. Despite that, still very open. Very, very much so open here. So again, good reason as to why it is often vetoed. Despite that, again, we'll see. We'll see how our players do approach this. So now we do have SHIN going, oh Jesus. I mean, it makes sense. So when we loaded some of these larger maps, this is applicable to King's Cove, it's applicable to Abyssal Reef, and applicable here to Neon Violet Square as well. SHIN is opening gasless. This is a gasless opener. It's going to be a hatch pull, hatch opener, 0 gases whatsoever. Very greedy build by SHIN. But because this pocket base is so easily defendable, because it is under no real danger, you can cut corners. Now, what happens here without any gas? No link speed. 0 link speed. And typically in a standard game, in a standard map, the Zerg player would be vulnerable to Hellion run-bys, to Hellion dives, to aggression early on. But because the map is so large, it takes a long time for Hellions to move out, and because this base is safe, it means that there's only one area to defend. This area here. Usually you'd have the Zerg player rotating with their queens here at outside of the natural and over here outside of the third. You'd have to like rotate back and forth and try to keep up, and the Hellions are going to try to find a way in and try to, you know, outposition the defending queens. But because there's literally only one area to defend, it is much easier to cut corners and defend with purely queen without any links, or with only slow links, and really only 4 links really. So because of that, you can cut corners and defend and just cut link production, or cut link production and cut link speed. So SHIN is being as greedy as possible. He should get away with it on this map. Walling up, Roach Warren's on the way. Because link speed is so late, you just skip link speed entirely and open up Roach. That is the go-to here when it comes to this build of choice. Meanwhile, behind this, we do have Percival going to be opening up with a 3rd CC before starport into a 2-1-1 setup. Interesting. That is a 2nd Rax before starport. What does this mean? This means that Percival, he's building up towards a 16 Marine double medevac timing once those medevacs, once the starport does arrive. So a very bio-aggressive build here from Percival. Now, there is a bit of a give and take. The downside of this build that Percival's going for is you go for an earlier add-on swap. What does that mean? That means only 4 Hellions. You have 2 Hellions on the map. We have 2 more coming in to reinforce. Only 4 Hellions. So you don't really have much of a map presence. And you can't really harass. You can't really poke in. You can't really vie for map control and deny creep. Your presence is significantly weaker than it otherwise should be. But because of Neon Violet Square, a higher Hellion count isn't going to achieve anything anyway. Getting up to 6 or 8 or 10 Hellions Like, what are you going to do? Like, at this point, like, nothing. The queens, they can defend. The roach is already out anyway. So going for a 2-1-1 here instead, I think is a little smarter. I think it's a little wiser here from Percival. I think it has a lot more potential for damage than a regular Hellion-based opener would have. So it makes sense. Does make sense for Percival, but now he's going to be zoned away. And SHIN is just building up and defending. Just droning as we speak, getting now a 4th base up and running as well. Now we only have to defend this 1 and this 2nd location as well, so still very fortifiable on 4 bases. Third base, again, completely left untouched. Hellions, they look for a way in, but SHIN keeps up. Is able to maintain himself. Meanwhile, Percival, when it comes to his build, his 3rd base is on location, and we're still waiting for those medevacs. Remember, this is going to be building up towards that 16 Marine double medevac timing with Stim, and it's almost here. So Percival can soon be aggressive, can soon be active. Now with this double drop, the goal here would be to deny creep, to hunt down overlords, and to potentially pick off some queens. We shouldn't really be looking for any more damage than that. Dropping into the main, for example, would be a little bit too greedy. We'll see what Percival has for us. Meanwhile, from the side of SHIN, he did somewhat scout the build. Somewhat.
Nice strategy.
Well, I mean, he saw the factory, so he knows. He saw the factory, so he is fully aware. Double drop towards the main. Hellions towards the right-hand side. Roaches are keeping up with both. So far, good defense by SHIN. He's keeping up with both forms of aggression. Percival diving on the queens. He gets 1. He gets 1. He gets 2. Can he get 3? He can. Very nice pick off. Percival shutting down 3 queens. With that, the creep is going to be stifled, is going to be denied. Ooh, dropping into the main, but the roaches are ready for this. Hellions, they threaten the 3rd base, but the last roaches are also in position. Percival's forced back, but catching 3 queens is a very nice start. As Percival pulls away. The light never dies out. Exactly. Let's go. As Percival is still being active, getting his third base fully saturated, and getting into his own 1-1 upgrades, into armory, into more bio-heavy composition. And SHIN so far is at least keeping up with the drop play. No other major losses outside of the queens, but that is impacting the creep. As you can see here, no active tumors. 0 active tumors for SHIN, so he has very little presence, at least towards the center of the map, just now respreading, or at least trying to. So nice pickups here by Percival. Building up his tank count. Likewise, SHIN, he's not just going purely Roach Ravager, he's going Roach Ravager now into Ling Bane. Ling Speed is on the way. Baneliness is on the way. This should lead into +1 melee. There it is. +1 melee is on the horizon. And this can lead into Ultras. If you remember, we saw something very similar with SHIN versus Ryung. Hive is on the way. Again, this should be for Ultras into Ling Bane Roach Ravager, Viper Ultra. We saw this, I believe it was on Ley Lines in a series against Ryung. Here we go. Hellions being forced back. Percival, he's going to try to strike before the Hive Tech really comes into play. We'll see what Percival can accomplish. So far, still being forced back. Not really feeling too confident. I mean, the creep isn't too out of control here for SHIN. It's still just barely spreading out. Percival has potential. Catches out a couple of stray roaches. Not bad. SHIN going for a roach counterattack at the same time. Back at home, there isn't too much to defend, but thankfully there are some marauders here at the 3rd. Hellions once again getting behind the mineral line. Roaches, they slip into the 3rd base, delaying some of the production. Nice pickoffs out of SHIN. Catching Percival somewhat off guard. Out there are those marauders. Hellions are cleaned up, so are the roaches. Both players do defend. And Baneling Speed is about to kick in. SHIN, he now has a massive Ling Bane army. Knock down those rocks. Now it's going to be a little bit easier for him to engage. Percival, he's still posturing. Still not really willing to commit. Decent kiting here from Percival. Does siege up those tanks. The Miles! Oh, the Miles, they will connect. The tanks, they get shut down. And with that, SHIN will take the greater fight. Takes down all 3 tanks. Some of the Banelings do connect as well. Oof. Percival has to get the hell out of here. Does pull away. Reinforcements have arrived, though. Percival, he still wants to commit. As a reminder, the tank actually cannot go into the square zones here. Cannot push in. That's a little bit too thick. A little bit too wide. So retreating can be quite awkward here in the center of the map. There's that Ultra Cavern that we did mention. Again, Ling Bane, Roach Ravager into Ultra Viper is the go-to for this kind of style. But it's going to take some time. We need the Ultra Cavern, we need the Ultra upgrades as well. Kindness Plating, Ultra Speed. Shin, he hasn't reached his final form yet. As the Vipers, they do powerbomb the Medivacs. So our good splits. The Medivacs, they should survive. Oh! Just barely. Medivacs do live. Percival still active on the map. Both players are almost maxed out. Almost there. Percival getting on top of the gold. At the same time, though, his own fourth base, or fifth base even, is going to be denied. Oh, can he force a cancel? He can! Oh my god, that's a kill. That's a kill, not a cancel on the expansion. Brutal pickoff. The Vials, they don't quite connect. Percival, he reacts in time. And here come the first wave of Ultras. I think this is a little bit soon. I'm not so certain that Shin is quite ready for the Ultras. But the first one is on the way. Does arrive in time and is going to be just targeted yet. I mean, Ultras without Kindness Plating, they melt quite quickly. Even without Ghosts. It's a nice pickoff here from Percival. Kindness Plating and +3 armor still on the way. Percival pushing in. Shin, he has a nice spread. Collapsing on the main army. Here come the Blinding Clouds. They do connect with the tanks. If the Viper gets shot down, the tanks are left exposed, and they will also be cleaned up. Shin, he takes the fight. He can chase us all the way back. He can chase us down. And the soup does lie. Percival, the supply here is mainly in Medivacs and nothing else. As Shin, he's already maxed out, and Percival, he plummets here. Down to 140. Another tank gets caught out. And what is it to defend? What is there? There's a CC on the low ground. There's one tank on the high ground. And Shinny just forces his way in. He can't keep going. The final tank. The Vials. Oof. The Vials connect. The tank falls. And Shin has done it. He has broken the back of Percival. Percival, he was very active, that is true, but Percival, he wasn't really trading, he wasn't really engaging with the bases, engaging with the main army, he was posturing more than anything. And that gave Shin the time that he needed to build up. As Shin's economy, for the most part, was left untouched, just freely mining, freely saturating. Ultras have finally arrived, this time with Kindness Plating and +3 carapace. They're sturdy, they're beefy, the scan reveals the base, reveals the army. And Percival has no answer to this. I believe he's just now making his first wave of ghosts. 3 ghosts are on the way. That's not going to be enough. Shin is remaxing. Percival trying to reestablish that center base. Moving out. And Shinny's all over this, and now he should finally move out. The drops are going to keep him busy, though. At least they try to. Ultras, again, they have to go the long way around. Diving on the main army. Only 2 tank siege. Nice snipes. Well, the tanks are going to be cleaned up. Ghost after retreat. The base once again is going to be denied. Percival, he just wants to expand. Ay, ay, ay. It's not going to happen. There's a cancel. Percival, he races back home with those Medivacs. 16 more SCVs going down. Nice snipes on the Ultras. Percival, he holds, he defends. But he's being starved out. He still has no expansion. Still stuck on 4 bases. And he's running out of money. You can see here the patches are running out. He needs an expansion. Shin once again going for a run by, tries to avoid the main army. Bailey's and Ultras getting caught out. They will try to buy time as things they flood into the mineral lines. SCVs, I mean, there's barely any SCVs left. Barely any remaining links. They flood into the pocket base. The natural towards the main, catching the production. Tank goes down. and this delays the move out. Percival, he raced back home for a moment, now turns back around. Lings, they burrow in the bases. And back at home, what do we have? Vipers, Ultras, and Infestors. Let's go. The Infestors have arrived. They're here for the fungal growths. They're here to lock down the army. Oh, Percival moving out. I believe so far has been unscattered. SHIN now aware. He does respond. Jesus, with a mass swarm of Lings, he gets on top of the tanks and the Ghost as well. Hot Pickup saves a handful of Ghosts, but everything else is going to be cleaned up here. As the swarm has arrived, show us the fungals. Can he catch the army? I mean, there's barely an army left. May not even need the fungals. As Percival, he does have a siege line set up. Ooh. First Infestor goes down. The army dives in, the Biles, they will connect, they shut down the tanks. The fungal connects. Yeah, fungal on the high ground, locking down the army. The chain fungal, GG gets called, and SHIN will take a lead in the series 1-0. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. We'll take a lead in the series, and we'll be one game away from advancing on into the grand finals. One more game is all he needs. And we'll see if he can take it. As up next, it's going to be Percival's map of choice. This does make more sense. Percival, he's going to be going for a much smaller map than the map pool. Up next is going to be Ley Lines. Let's go. Ley Lines is going to be the map of choice. Again, one of the smaller maps in the map pool. Quite defendable here on 2-3 bases, but you can be much more assertive, much more aggressive on this map as well. And my eyes are going to be on the Terran. As spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have our South Korean Terran player. There we go. We have our South Korean Terran down in the series. We'll see if he can bounce back here on his map of choice. It is Percival. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player, the Blue Zerg representing Gaiming Gladiators, leading the series 1-0. Unamas, one more game is all he needs to face off against Hero in the grand finals. It is SHIN. We go. So we're calming things down. We're settling in. Neo Violet Square is the closest we get to a 12 spawn map in SC2, so I like it. Oh, you're an animal. Ah, no. Not like this. Not like this. Este pecoeta. Cálmate, papi. Cálmate. SMH. Shaking my head. Just catching up in the chat. Just catching up. And so far, we're settling in. We are going to be settling in. So far, it is going to be the Rax Expand standard opener here out of Percival. Likewise, Hatch Gas Pool out of SHIN. Nothing crazy early on, no early gases. This time, there is no gasless opener out of SHIN. If you remember, he did embrace a gasless opener on Neo Violet Square. And I did mention, I did list off a couple of maps where that is viable. Maps like Neon Violet, maps like Abyssal, as well as King's Cove. But on a smaller map like this, less so. This is where you will be punished quite hard if you did try to open up gasless. So this is a bit of a PSA. If you saw the last game, if you're like, yo, SHIN, he was crazy greedy, I want to play like that as well, it is map dependent. You know, be careful. Be careful out there. You know, these are professionals. Do not do as they do. You know, be safe out there. Be safe. Don't open gasless on Ley Lines. You'll be met with a bad time. As Percival does dip in, threatens the natural, and so far SHIN is able to keep up. Oh, we'll lose one Ling, not bad. One Ling goes down, Queen has arrived, third base gets placed, and SHIN is forced back. Big pros don't like Neo Violet Square because how difficult it is to maintain an expansion. yes and no. So unlike Abyssal Reef, where Abyssal Reef you can set up on 5 bases a lot easier, the 5th base on, am I thinking of correct? Yes, the 5th base on Neo Violet Square is more exposed, that is true, but it is very easy to get up to your 4 base setup. So it's like a very passive start to the game, but then as we did try to mention, it is very open in the center, so it's difficult to really be aggressive and be active, even more so than Abyssal, because on Abyssal Reef there are so many choke points and so many attack paths and so many little alleyways where you can be more assertive, more so than Neon. Like Neon is just, it's the worst of both worlds. It's yeah. But you know, that's why we appreciate OlimoLeague, because here in this tournament we're able to force Neo Violet Square and force El Dorado as well. They have to play on Neon. Too bad. So now Percival here is going to back up. Likewise is going to be a Banshee follow-up here. Ooh, much more aggressive. My apologies, I did miss this. It is going to be a 2-on-1. It is going to be a 2-on-1 with Hellion and Banshee. This looks like a Hellbat push out of Percival. If you were here earlier today, Percival did this very same build against Rex, if I recall correctly. So very aggressive, very committed here by Percival. It's going to be Stim with Stim. It's going to be Stim Marines alongside Hellions, alongside Banshees, alongside an Armory. Oh boy. So very committed on 2 bases. A delayed 3rd base here out of Percival. And Shin, what did he see exactly? He saw the researching tech labs. He saw enough. He saw enough to be safe.
A creep tumor. So much for your creep spread.
He is a diva enjoyer. But he did see enough to be defensive. Roach Warren is done, and he will have roaches to defend. Roaches or Banelings are going to be ideal here in this early game setup. So very safe play here by Shin, which is what he wants. And we spoke earlier about the Hellbats. There's that Armory. Again, this is a Hellbat push, and the Hellbats are upon us. So Percival, he is seconds away from committing. And I don't see any roaches. The Roach Warren is done, but where are the roaches themselves? Shin getting a 4th expansion. He's being quite greedy, actually. He's droning up to 60 workers. 50, yeah, up to 61, actually. Taking extra gases as well. Some roaches would be nice. He's still droning, by the way. I am very concerned. As Percival, he will soon move out. He's still waiting for his upgrades, though. Stim is still on the way. Stim is just not finishing up, and here comes a Percival. Shin going double Evo chamber as well. He's still droning. Where are the roaches? Oh, no. As he makes another wave of workers here, we have double Evo chamber, more gases on the way. Shin is being insanely greedy right now. Can he get away with it? It's possible. We'll see. We shall see. As here comes Percival. He moves out. Lings, they get eyes on the move out as well. Roach production has begun. Again, it's going to be quite close here. Shin is supply blocked. 6 roaches on the way. And we'll see how assertive Percival's going to be. He does rest up some of those Lings, pushes towards the natural. Queens are getting in position. The tank does siege. And how assertive is Percival going to be? For the time being, he does leave his Hellbats holding back. He does leave them back to protect the tank. Stims in. Roaches are on the way. 2 roaches going to be going down already. The tank hitting a lot of damage here in the back line. Ooh, as the roaches do fall. But the Bio Army is getting a little bit overstimmed. I would love to see the Hellbats move forward. The Hellbats are in position to protect the tank, but they don't need protection. We need the Hellbats here on the front lines. As Percival, he is somewhat running out of steam. The Lings are cleaned up. And now we can push. Now he can try to commit. He's been trading well, but the base still stands. He needs more damage. The roach count is building up over time. And if this army doesn't get into the mineral line, if he doesn't get the base, then Shin is just going to snowball out of control. Yeah, so many roaches. He's getting on top of the tank. Percival, it's taken too long. And he is deflected. Shin defends. Shin holds. And now Shin is in a beautiful position. He's on 4 bases. He's on full 3 base saturation. He's up to 69 workers. Nice. 1-1 is almost done. And soon Shin will counterattack. And Percival, remember, he delayed his 3rd base in favor of that move out. And he traded well. Don't get me wrong. He traded well against the roaches, but he needed more damage. He needed to get more done. It was not enough. He needed to either kill drones, kill the expansion. If you remember, when he played against Rex, he did kill the base. He did kill the third. Not here against Shin, though. Not against Shin. Now, to be fair, if you remember, Rex didn't have roaches. He was defending with Ling Bane. Like, Rex, he did have a Ling Bane defense instead, which was a lot more clutch. We'll say that at least. Roaches are a lot more stronger defensively, especially early on, as we saw. And Shin, he's taking a further lead here. Oh boy. As Percival does drop into the main, Shin, he's keeping up. He's ready for this. He knocks back the double drop. And we should be hitting a 2-2 timing. 2-2 is on the horizon here. Shin, he's cutting workers at 76. That's full base saturation. And now he can max. Shin, he's about to max out. He's about to snowball out of control. I don't know if Percival can survive this. He will have his own upgrades. He will have some SimCity here to protect these tanks. He's going to have a 4-tank setup, a couple of depots. But Shin is at 200 supply. He's at 200 supply. The army's out of position. The tanks are exposed. Not like this. Yeah, the tanks, they're on their own. And with this Ling Roach Ravager army, I mean, Percival, he should just crumble here. There's no saving this. Lings, they commit in. Yeah, the tanks are exposed. They're falling one after the other. And we're going for the base trade. we have to commit. We're going for the base trade. Percival, he sims in, takes down the mineral line. Headed towards the natural. It's all or nothing for Percival. They'll take down the roaches. Catching all these overlords as well. Heavy supply block for Shin. Oh my god, an insane supply block. Which means Shin, he has no more reinforcements. He will break through into the natural. But there's nothing to defend. Not after losing all those overlords. I say that 8 overlords in production. Percival breaking the natural. At the same time, Shin pushing into the main. Oh, the tank volleys are insane. Does take down the tank. Shin, he is forcing his way in. The final tank is going to fall as well. There's one tank left. Can he save it? Not quite. The tank falls. Meanwhile, Percival finding another base. Yeah, the last finding base here of Shin. Oh, getting up to 13 worker kills. 60 SCVs go down, though. The mass migration. Get out of here. Percival, he evacuates the main. And Shin, he still has mining. He still has a 3-base setup. Or at least a 2-base setup. He's no longer supply blocked. He can make an army. In a head-on fight, though, who do we favor? Okay, looking at the supplies. 24 Marines. 24 Marines against 23 Roaches. A handful of Lings. +2 is going to be denied. Yeah, Shin, he is holding back at home. He has enough Roaches. And Percival, he has nothing left. He has nothing left. He's down to this. A handful of buildings. No SCVs. Mules are good, but they're not that good. Oh, the mules, though. Mule Hammer does arrive. Oh my god, the miles they connect. GG gets called. Brutal connections. And Shin, he will take the series 2-0, advancing on to the grand finals. GG. GG, well played. A very impressive defense here by Shin. As a reminder, Shin, he droned up to 69 workers. He got a 4th base. He took 6 gases. He went double Evo chamber as well. He delayed his roach production heavily against a committed 2-base push by Percival, and he got away with it. Did get away with it in the end. I do think the Percival was a little bit too defensive. If you remember, he left all of his Hellbats behind to protect the tank. To protect the one tank, whereas otherwise you could probably argue you can move out with most of them, maybe leave like 2, maybe 3 Hellbats at most. He left all of them to defend, so they weren't with the main army. With that, Shin was able to buy time. He just bought time for reinforcements, for extra roaches, and time was on his side, of course. With that, he defends, he snowballs out of control. GG, well played. Percival, he needed more damage dealt with that push. And with that, we have our 2 finalists. We have our top 2 players here of the night of OlimoLeague. It is going to be... Sorry, there we go. As I just fix up the out-of-game score. It is going to be a best of 5 between Shin and Hero. Oh boy. Here we go. And this is going to be a rematch. We have seen Shin and Hero face off in the finals before. This is an ex-CJ show match in a sense, where both Shin and Hero, they were on CJ Enters for many, many years. Fun fact, they're both good friends as a result. A lot of the CJ boys, I'm referring to Shin, I'm referring to Hero, referring to Biel, referring to Bunny as well, and a couple of others, they do interact outside of the game. Every now and then they post pictures on like Instagram, mainly Instagram really, of going out to eat and spending time outside, and yeah, just interacting and just enjoying life, just not just in StarCraft, but it's great to see that these friendships were formed early on, and they're still out there. They're still there. So these are two good friends facing off in the best of 5. Let's go. Let us go. It's going to be a ZvP between Hero and Shin. Here we go. As we try to set up the grand finals. Weibo Gaming. And we've made it. We've reached the 7. I predicted that this cast was going to be at least 7 hours. We've reached the 7-hour mark. And we've only just begun the grand finals. Let's go. If we go all the way to the Ace match, this could be an 8-hour cast, which would be fun. But at the same time, I would like to get some food at some point and get some sleep and get ready for the next cast. It would be nice, but we'll I'm at the mercy of Hero and Shin. How much macro are we going to see between these two players? I mean, Shin and Hero are typically more aggressive. They're typically aggressive players. They're typically in each other's faces. But we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Oh no, I'm not ready, Pappy. I'm not ready.